What's going on, everybody? This is Zay, the executive producer here, host, talent, all of that. I would like to let y'all know and just take some time to say thank y'all for supporting the podcast. We're coming to an end of season 2. Season 3 will be up shortly. I just want to say thank y'all from the bottom of my heart for helping us, support us to get to this point, giving us feedback, commenting, sharing posts, liking, giving feedback, all that jazz. It means the world to us. I'm just letting you guys know that this will be the last episode of season 2. And moving forward, we can't wait to get more feedback, get a little bit more in depth. And thank y'all for kind of going through this trial run phase with us as we finally get things nailed down. So without further ado, go ahead and tap into this week's episode.
I didn't want to agree with that because I was like, is it really like that? Like, you know, if we have sex on the first night or the first time we're hanging out, like, are you seeing me different?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Because I can't go and pray about this later. What do I...
He's not gonna go and pray about it.
Bro, we talk...
What's going on, everybody? It's another rendition, another good time, another Real Xxample episode.
I like to preach it, dog.
I was about to preach to him.
Okay.
We're going to do a little bit of preaching later
sound
today.
like it.
All right. We back again, once again, another episode of the Real Xxample podcast with TJ. And I'm going to let TJ bring us in. So,
For sure. And it's think, relate, explore because we come in, we have a topic, we think about it, we come together and we relate to it because we're the same age as most of our listeners. So a lot of people kind of talk down, not from a negative standpoint, but from experience, but we're currently going through it. So we relate and then we kind of just explore and see where that takes us. So the topic today, and real quick before I get into that, we have our beautiful guest Danna again, and we have Aunge on today as well. So
creative director.
I'm saying, if you didn't see the previous episode with Danna, make sure you tune into that because this kind of segues into it. Honestly, I feel like if you don't listen to that one first, then this one, it's not that you won't understand it, but it definitely segues really, really smooth. We're going to talk about...
Go watch the last episode. The link will probably be in one of these boxes.
You know, on YouTube with
You know how
the
YouTube
bubble.
do?
With the bubble.
Go watch that episode. The link will be right here. Yeah. Go ahead and click on that. And then come back to us.
That's right. So we're going to talk about the difference between dating. I know some people are kind of like, there's no difference. If you're dating. But I firmly believe there's a difference between casual dating and commitment dating. So we're going to think through this topic, kind of relate to it, and just explore. So starting off with Aunge, because I know you said before you even got on camera, like before you thought it was just dating.
Yeah.
So kind of, we talked about it a little bit, but what do you think is the difference between casual and commitment dating?
So I'm new to the whole casual dating. So my idea of dating is courting. So when you're dating me, I feel like you're courting me to be into a relationship. So we're getting to know each other, we're vibing, we're trying to see if the vibe is there to, you know, graduate into something bigger. I feel like casual dating, to me, when I hear that, it kind of feels like a waste of time because it's like if we don't catch the vibe, then we should just leave it as is. But if we have the vibe and you're not doing the commitment, then it's like, what is casual dating like? To me, that's wasting time. I feel like maybe you all can answer this, but as a man, I feel like maybe after a month or so, you would know if you want to be in a relationship with me or not. So it's just like, after a month or so, what is casual dating like? Are we just dating for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months and it's like there's no relationship? Like, what's the end game? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like at a certain point it gets to be a waste of time if you don't have that intention of making it a title or, pursuing it further. So it's just kind of like, I'm just trying to see, like, I'm used to commitment dating. So if, like, you say you want to date me and you're courting me, we're going out on dates, I say, like, by the 3rd or 4th date, you know you want to pursue me. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep the communication going. We're going to keep everything open. And then eventually I would expect for it to be a relationship at some point.
And here's why I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree because when there's casual dating, it takes the lens of commitment off. Because a lot of people think they date to marry. Sometimes
Right.
I'm trying to date to get to know you. I'm just date to figure out what that really looks like.
Right.
So I do believe that at a certain point in time, we got to figure out this exclusive, or we going to downgrade the friendship, or we're going to progress to a relationship. There's got to be that understanding.
Okay.
That being said, casual dating means that we can date, and we're not an item. Therefore, I don't have to be locked into this particular option and not think about other things around me. Casual dating gives you the ability to take some time with somebody, go to lunch, take some time with some other people, really figure out what it is that you really want, and gives you time to really do that. Now, there's some people who play around the casual dating too long, which we'll talk about later.
Right.
But casual dating is a part of really figuring out what it is you really like. A lot of people say they want one thing, and then they date it, and then they be like, But the deal is, when you're casually dating, it's not a sense of, well, you got all these years built into it. Casual dating, okay, cool. I got that sample. I ain't like that. We can progress as friends, downgrade the relationship to friendship, or move it on to a certain level.
Yeah.
You gotta have the maturity, though. A lot of people are casually dating just to, slide in, slide out, do what needs to be done. Other people are casually dating, like myself, where it's like, I want to see what this flavor person is, what this flavor personality is, and do I really like that? Because sometimes you'll be exposed to something that you didn't know that you liked, and I was like, damn. Had I not casually dated that person, I would have married somebody who's missing a key component of who I am at the core. Exactly. And I think casually dating gives you the opportunity to see things that you like and don't like. But like I said, it comes with a timestamp. You don't casually date for a year with no title. That's stupid. Because by that time, you should have been up to enough dates. I think a date number, like if you say we're on the third or fourth date, I agree with that. But some people, they have time. Time is not an indicator of quality to me when it comes down to relationships. So, do I like this personality of person? Do I like what they bring to the table? Do I like certain things? Because if I didn't know casually dating, I wouldn't know. I would like to have a woman who can do my hair. Until I casually dated someone who was doing my hair, I was like, all right. That was never like, as much as natural hair products, you're like, oh yeah, I can go to the hairstylist, and then then you start to realize like, yo, this type of relationship should probably be intimate, and I probably want that with my wife.
Yeah.
Right.
If I haven't dated my hairstylist or haven't dated people who did hair, I wouldn't know what that luxury is. So I think, damn, I don't really need that. And now, as you can see, the link is here.
Oh, goodness.
I definitely realized that I need that. And so it's certain aspects of relationships that you got to figure out. Like sometimes, like, it's a well-known fact. Puedo hablar español. I can speak Spanish.
Okay.
So I would also like to know that my wife would be willing to learn another language. So if we were to go travel, because I like traveling, that would be something that we want to do. And I'm not saying it's a hard disqualifier, but there's a quality that's a bonus. Some people, it's a mandate. Like one of our friends, he's engaged. He doesn't speak Spanish. His whole entire his wife is Puerto Rican.
I know you're talking about. That would bother me.
And it's fluid, and they speak fluidly all the time around him, and he's just like, woo. But to her, she casually dated before. She realized she doesn't need a man to be bilingual like her. And
but
so,
in Jim though, she doesn't speak it as much from what he said, and she was raised in America, so I think that's a huge part of it.
So by casually dating, you'll be able to really filter out what it is that you like and what it is that you don't like, because there's certain things like you say you like, certain things that you don't like. For example, one thing that we ran into, both being fitness guys, we ran into a fit chick. It's one thing to be a fit guy. You're like, okay, I'm in shape, and now she's in shape, and now here comes this dude who doesn't know where his eyes are going. Like you have to. It's like, do I really want to deal with a chick who's a 10 out of 10, and now I got to worry about, so this dude is really like eyeing her up and down, and like, do I have to go touch him? You know what I'm saying? It's that type of stuff that unless you casually date, you don't know exactly what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
But I do think it comes with a timestamp, and it comes with intention.
Right.
Status and intent. Shout out to Raven.
I definitely want to weigh in on that, but I'm gonna let Donna talk because
Yeah.
I know she's been absorbing everything.
I'm just like,
I know.
So I want to make this really good point that I was kind of just marinating in my mind, but I think a lot of the reason why people become worrisome when they hear casual dating is because they automatically tie it to hooking up and nothing else. Hookup culture, right? So for a lot of people, their little into that lifestyle is saying, I'm just looking for something casual. And then it's bam, hooking up, right? So I think for women, sometimes when we hear casual dating and the way that you were saying, like, if we're dating, you're courting me because you actually want a relationship, right? And a lot of us did grow up with that type of idea around dating. But I think for myself, for some time, I did think that casual dating was just like, oh, you're just trying to like hook up with me, or you're just trying to like maybe hang out with me here and there, but we're just gonna be friends and nothing else. But then as I got older and more mature and started to develop more qualities of knowing what I like, you know, in a man, and that comes through experience, which also comes from casual dating. I think casual dating is such a great opportunity to really find out what you really want.
Yeah.
You know, and the things that really matter to you, and you really don't know until you put yourself out there. So for me, like where I'm at right now in life, I really strongly believe that casual dating is so important, because in the previous 2 relationships that I've been in, there really wasn't any like casual dating that took us into a relationship. It was like we met, we went on a few dates, and then there was like, oh, this is a vibe. Then again, I was like, this was 3 years ago, so I was younger, so I really didn't know. So out of those 2 relationships, I got what I now, you know, want in a man, I guess you could say. So bringing it back, what I'm saying is that I think that a lot of the time going into dating to be in a relationship can be dangerous, because you're already putting like expectations on someone. You're going out on a date because you think this might be the one. And I feel like for women, it's exhausting, you know, to continue to go on these dates and be like, are you the one? Are you the one? Are you, you know, and it's just like, why can't I just go out and enjoy, you know, a conversation with you? And if it goes somewhere, then okay. You know what I mean? But like, I don't want to continue to put myself out there and getting my hopes up, which also comes to disappointment. I feel like a lot of people don't date at all because they become so disappointed and like continuously going out on dates and every single time just being like, this is not the one. I'm never going to find my person, you know? But I think when you already know you're in it for casual dating purposes right now, and if we date for a few months and it goes into something more, then okay. But I think it just comes back to self-awareness and actually knowing what are you dating for right now.
That's super huge, though. I think just being outcome driven in that sense is what leads to, like you said, a lot of disappointment. And when you take that piece out of it, and it's like, look, I'm just trying to legitimately see what this person's about, see if they fit what I'm looking for, and you go in there without the outcome, like this has to lead to marriage, this has to lead to this, that, and the third, then you really open yourself up to have like legitimately a good time. I think that makes dating more fun too.
It's supposed
I think
to be
a lot,
fun.
exactly. A lot of people
Like,
just go in, they're just like holding on, like, oh man, what am I gonna get into? It's like you should be able to go in and just be yourself, but it's hard to be yourself if you don't know yourself.
Right.
So that's a huge thing.
Say that
And,
again.
it's hard to be yourself if you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
And one thing too, quick plug, you gotta listen to Dannatalks, because we're gonna talk about self-dating, and like me doing that just like completely changed the way I think about dating. Just going out and doing stuff by yourself to be like, do I legitimately love doing this for myself?
Right.
And then at that point, you're just adding someone to that. Like dating is just adding someone to an experience to elevate it. It shouldn't be like, they shouldn't be making the experience like,
Exactly.
I'm going here to make this experience.
Can
Like
you
you're
say that
just
again?
elevating.
that's
Everybody
key.
did.
That's
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
We wind it though, because that's good for the YouTube algorithm.
Dating.
Make sure you rewind. So I'm not gonna say it again. Rewind, then play. You know what I'm saying? We trying to get our numbers up.
Dating is an experience, and you're just adding someone else into it. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't look at it that way. It's definitely a codependency thing. What are you
Yeah.
doing? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I want to do. I don't want you to come show you what I like doing, and let's do it together. Let's see if we enjoy
You
it.
Exactly.
know, a big point is like, if you don't even like this version of yourself, why would I expect the person I'm going on a date with to like this version of myself too?
Exactly.
Plain and simple, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I'm not happy with right here, then I'm like showing up into this date like not even as myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm walking on rocks, or I'm trying to paint this picture of what I am that might make you like me. I think there's a problem there. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we're already thinking about commitment, so I'm making myself look like I could be everything that you can commit to, but I'm actually not that.
Yeah, you're not ready for
And
it.
that's what leads to those like crazy and that's really why I feel like the divorce rate is up so high, because
Yeah.
you can only put on
Yeah.
that face for so long.
Yeah.
And some people can do it longer than others. That's the scary thing. They might be able to put on that face for like 10 years, and then they just wake up and they're just like, I'm gonna be myself.
Yeah.
And then the other person is like, you changed, and it's like, no, they just went back to being themselves.
Yeah.
Like they got tired of like putting
Yeah,
that front
it is
on for so
scary.
many
But I think
years,
that
like
comes,
layer
like,
after layer.
See, what you just brought up is something that I feel is so interesting when people marry someone that they don't even know, you know, or someone that's not developed enough. Okay, let's bring it back to happiness, which I think this is one of the main reasons why. I feel like people find their happiness in things, people, titles, etc., materialistic things.
For sure.
Never right here within themselves. We're talking about self-discovery, right? So I feel like a lot of the time, and the reason why I feel like marriages are not as successful these days are simply because people marry usually to like fulfill a void within themselves. You know, they're trying to find love in the person that they're marrying and that they're taking their last name from, but they're not even happy right here. So it's just like, if people actually took the time to date themselves, to find out what they want, to do the casual dating, to understand, oh, I don't like this, I like this, you know, and understand more of who they are, then as they evolve as human beings, they're still that core person that they've always been. You know, they don't revert into going back to the old version of themselves. They're this person for sure. But it's like, in casually dating, I feel like that's a great thing, because you start to also be able to understand who that person is on more and more and more levels, without having that like commitment piece of it, where it's like, I'm tied to this person, like, or you're married to this person, and then this person starts being more of something that you never understood about them, and then we're like, oh, we're not compatible at all, but now we're married, so now I'm in a divorce 3 years later. You know what I mean? But if you actually took the time, which goes back to what we were just saying, like, and actually not rushing into a committed relationship right away, which is a mistake I've done. So now it's like, I'm so open to casually dating, because I want to date somebody for 6 months. Let me see the action. Are you like just trying to impress me on the first 3 days, or are you actually like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to get married and then divorce in, you know, a year or two, or in the long run. Like, I'm actually trying to get to know someone, and I think that casually dating allows you to actually know who that person is on the longer term. You know, not for a whole year, but let's at least date for 6 months, and let's figure it out. You know what I mean? How much you switch up, or, you know, we all eventually have, you know, when you're dating somebody and then eventually you guys have that first disagreement, and it's always
You gotta see,
interesting.
like, because you don't know how
gotta
they're
see how
going to
you bounce
respond.
back
You're like,
from
okay,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to see like how that person reacts. So I feel like within a 6 month period window, at least one thing has gone wrong. You've had at least
You gotta
one
have
bad
that-
day.
you gotta have
Right.
You've
that.
had at least one thing come up. And then it's nice to see how that person handles that thing.
Yeah.
How that person communicates, hey, I'm having a bad day.
Right.
It's important things to me, because if I marry you, you're going to have a lot of bad days between now and when I die. You know what I mean? So it's just
Plenty.
like, yeah. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. Like, I feel like for me, I didn't necessarily always look at it as casual dating, but in a sense, that's what it was. Because to me, in my mind, it's like more so getting to know someone. So I feel like when you first meet someone, you have this period of getting to know them, just kind of like filling out the vibe. And then when you move to that dating stage, I feel like that's more of like a commitment. Like, okay, we've gotten to know each other, so now we're gonna move to this dating stage to see like if we can take it to a relationship. So I feel like when you're getting to know someone, that's when you have all these open options. That's when you have all these possibilities. But when you move to that dating stage, I feel like now you got to know the core, or you got to know the basis of who I am, and you want to move that to a dating stage to see like if this can work in a relationship. So in my mind, it's like, I guess casual dating can be the same thing as like how you all look at it as how I see getting to know someone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you put that dating title on it, it has more of an intent than being casual. You get what I'm saying?
I see. I think.
I would like to
Raymond
say
K.
something real
Raymond
quick.
K. Go and cue in them.
Let me just jump in real quick. Something
Yeah.
I think is very important as well to what you were saying is establishing the different stages for
Right.
each person and communicating for each person
Exactly.
how they want to move through each phase. For me personally,
Right.
it's like, for example, I think the first initial stage is friendship, then you go into casual dating, and then you go into exclusive dating / relationship. But
Right.
that is something that
Exactly.
needs to be communicated to the other person.
Exactly.
And then the other person has to communicate what they interpret each stage as. Because some people, just like you said, getting to know each other, talking, and all of a sudden she's, well, I thought we were now.
Right,
dating.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
And
like,
you're not on the same page. So-
Exactly. Something like, so what y'all are saying is casual dating, I see as getting to know someone, which is really essentially the same thing. But like he was saying, the different titles can kind of throw the perspective off. So it's like, I can be on some getting to know, and you're like, oh, we're casually dating, so I'm dating all these other people, and I'm getting to know all these other people, which is fine. But then we move to this dating stage, we have to establish what exactly we expect from one another, and what the intent is to move forward with one another.
I think that's very crucial, because I have definitely been in situations where we casually dated, so it's not exclusive, and someone will be like,
They put that pressure on you,
and
though.
they'll apply pressure, and I'll be like, it's not that it's not unwanted, because I definitely want to see that you enjoy me, you want to figure out what I'm doing, you want to have me for me, and that's high interest women, and people having high interest in yourself. That's something everyone should experience and truly have. So when they see it, it's like, okay, you have high interest in me. It's also got to clarify, where do you think we're at? Because right now I'm casually dating, so there's other shooters. There's other people I'm taking on dates. There's other people I'm having FaceTimes with at 1 a.m. Are you aware I'm doing that? Because if you're not aware, now we have an impasse.
Yeah.
Now we have an impasse.
So for me, I had this little situation last summer, and there was this guy that I was casually dating. Casual, right? But it got taken into beyond the little period of time where I'm like, all right, what are we?
Right.
Like, I don't like asking the what are we?
Exactly.
That's a question we shouldn't have to have. Like, you have to let me know, from the beginning. And if not, then I kind of got to read your actions to know, which is a very awkward place to be for both men and women. And so anyway, we were, casually dating, and it just got to this period where I was like, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, but it's like you kind of start to feel some type of way about someone once you've been around their energy for so long. Like you start to care about them a little bit more, and it's like, all right, hold on, so we're casual, but I care about you, and I gotta like try to keep my feelings at bay because I'm not really sure where we're at. So it's like I straight up told him, and I was like, let me tell you something. If your intent has always been to just casually date me and not take it anywhere else, don't treat me like you actually want something else from me. Okay? Because if all you want to do is hook up with me, say so.
Right.
Say so. Because like now you're confusing me by like trying to be extra and like being attentive. And this is one thing that I feel like is a problem with most men. I feel like some men feel like the moment they tell a woman that is just casual and maybe that they just want to hook up, all women disappear, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So it's just like, don't lead me on into trying to do all this extra stuff, like take me out on dates, if at the end of the day we're not going anywhere else. I'm good without the dates. I don't even want the dates. Just be straight up with me, and if you just want to hook up, or if you just want to be casual to the extent where we know it's not going anywhere, just say so.
I love that point. To dive into it a little bit deeper, kind of like we said in the last podcast, we keep saying that, so watch the last podcast. But that goes back to abundance and scarcity. And I think the fear of that scarcity is when you try and hide your true intentions. That's when you're kind of like, I don't really want to tell them that, hey, I'm just like, it's just DTF, that's all that it is.
Yeah.
Like, because I might not be able to get a woman of that caliber again. And when you have that abundance, you can operate with your intent with confidence. Like the thought that guys are the only creatures around here running around horny, like testosterone is more of an aggressive hormone, so we're more direct with it. We're like, getting charged up. But women want sex just as much as we do, right? But they can keep that at bay a little bit better than we can in terms of like how they show it. So the thought process that I'm not going to tell her this because maybe she doesn't want that. I've run into plenty of women who just wanted that, and I was on the other side of it, and I was just like, I'm a piece of meat now. And it's a good feeling sometimes, but sometimes it's like, all right, I was trying to do a little bit more. I'm a little hurt, but then other times it's like, I've been in the gym, so I get it. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta have that abundance mindset that's like, okay, like I can walk in whatever I'm trying to do with confidence. When you don't have that, that's when you try and put these little veils up, like, okay, maybe this is just a test. Like she wants me to say that we're doing more so I can get this. Like you're already being underhanded, and then people try to recover a situation that's already bad, right? They get into a scenario where it's like, okay, now I finally did have sex, but then I actually kind of care about her too. But then you started off negative. You're trying to, I can't remember what your dad said, but he was saying you can't turn a negative seed into a positive. Like you came in underhanded. You tried to turn it into a blessing too. Yeah, because he was like, God can't bless something that was like planted negative, in a negative space like that. Right? So it's like, you're like, okay, God, I want you to bless my family in this future relationship. But it's like, you went in underhanded. Now you want me to bless
Hold
this.
on. That brings up real quick. Sleeping with somebody on the first night. Oh,
Andre 3000 had a bar. That
so
just
big.
means she knows what she wants in life. and I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
So for me, it's kind of like what you're just saying, because it's just like the opening part to this connection between you and I is already this right here. So I'm kind of letting you know. And for some time, I didn't want to agree with that. Because I was like, is it really like that? Like, if we have sex on the first night or the first time we're hanging out, like, are you seeing me different?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
have to ask
100%.
Absolutely.
Because I can't go and pray about this later. What do I look?
He's like, I'm going pray about it.
Bro, we talked about it so many times. What do I look like having sex
What
on
do
the
I
first
look
date
like
and going back and be like,
going
Lord,
to
I'm
church
praying
the
that
next
this is
morning?
my wife. like,
God, this is my wife. I promise I'll never. Like,
You heathen.
God looking at the caller ID like, really?
he's like, it was 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm not asleep, but still, bro, I'm on.
Like,
Let this go to
you
voicemail.
You
'cause
can't ask for no blessings after you do that, and I feel like it's definitely a loss of respect because it's like
100%.
people like the what's it the mental stimulus that comes from sex
Yeah.
between a man and a woman is at the highest, and it can only be heightened by more sex or ecstasy or whatever you want to call it, external objects. But naturally speaking, it's sex. So I just hit the pinnacle of whatever I'm gonna get from you. Why should I come back for more?
And like, think about it like this. That's like, essentially, if you're trying to actually look at a woman and see like what she's about and get to know her, it's like putting on like a pair of shades now. Right? So now you're being blinded to like other red flags that you might have seen, but you were like, shoot, but it was so good that it's like,
Sex is
her
a
like,
blinding.
you know, her
It
not healing,
definitely is.
her not healing and having like
It
family
definitely is,
issues,
yeah.
like, I'll just deal with it. Like, she didn't
Yeah.
have a dad in her life and she still got problems there, but
So then that brings up the question, since we're talking about casual versus committed, should you have sex with people you're casually dating if you're trying to make it into the committed situation? And if so, how long are you waiting? You know? Because it's just like, if we're talking about commitment, like, I feel like if you start off,
No, it's just like to have sex during the casually dating stage. I think is just a bad idea.
that's the thing that
For both.
flips
Yes,
it.
to me,
That's the thing that
that's to
flips
get
it
to
on
know
its
each
head.
other. Like, that's too much.
There's nothing casual about sex, and if it's casual sex, then it's probably one you're not like what's it called? Ludacris said, you're not doing it right. You know what I'm saying? And so, if you're supposed to really be doing sex in its original intended form with the people that you really care about, why are you handing it out like it's a $5 transaction? And if everyone's getting the same $5 transaction, what does that mean? It's not worth nothing. So you're trying to mean the highest thing that could possibly have with another person is easily accessible. And if that person can get it and that person can get it, there's no worth in that. Exclusivity means that it's worth something because everyone can get to it. And if everyone can get to it, why should I want it?
Right.
And I think if you're having casual sex like that, and people talk, people will know if you just out here wilding in these streets. Like that. So if you're really doing that, like, if you really just want to get your hormones off, you know what I'm saying, quench your thirst, if you will, you setting yourself up for a lot of damage mentally, but also long term, like no one's gonna take you seriously. You know, it's funny how many women, like you'll be in a friend group, and they'll be like, and you'll be thinking about her seriously, and one of your partners will say, "Oh, I hit that." My whole perception of this,
like your brain is doing
my whole
like
perception of that is
backflips
like,
in your head.
dang, she might have been good, but now off the strength of my partner hit really casually,
ooh,
what does that really mean? There's any worth there? And some dudes can get past that. Me personally, no, because it's like,
Did you see Best Man Holiday? I'm not say dicks.
yeah. And so it's like, nah, because if you are really worth something, you wouldn't just be giving it away casually, and everyone should
Yeah.
have access to it.
Right.
I think that's so important. I'm glad that it came up in this conversation because I feel like a lot of people don't see that as a problem, you know, between casual and committed. But it's definitely something that I feel like needs to be talked about more and expressed in this way because I feel like a lot of people are also unsure and undecided, especially for women, as to what they should do in that case.
Well, you gotta be real with yourself. You have to be 100% real with yourself. I think about my faith first and also think about the damage I could potentially do on the opposite side.
Yeah.
We think about the damage that you can do to a woman sexually as a man, and you're not even thinking about it because we're definitely, our minds are geared differently to digest and deal with sex. So we can go out in and out, and it's not gonna be a problem for us. But the damage that we can do on the opposite end can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
And as a man who has a relationship with God, for those who don't like God, I'm sorry, I got a relationship. But those who have a relationship with God, I cannot then, like TJ said, pray about this because I know I'm doing dirty. So it's like if I'm doing dirty but asking for God to bless that, that's not gonna work. One, and two is like I'm gonna have to answer for that one day. You reap what you sow. So whatever you're putting out, that's gonna come back to you.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come back to you in the worst way.
Yeah.
So for me, as a man, I can only speak for myself and other people who might be aligned with my faith. You going out there and you're doing all this casual sex and you're doing a lot of damage to women because in the back of their head they're thinking that they're never enough, and you're doing it because you just want to get your thirst.
I think more men need to hear that.
But I mean, it's just
Faith or not.
Faith or not, but
Faith or
you
not.
have to think about it because that's one spiritual damage, right? But then mentally speaking, you're bonding with somebody,
Yeah.
and I don't know if y'all heard this, but your mate will more likely match up with your DNA rather than people who are blood related to you. If you're going to get a lung from, or not a lung, what's the there's two of them. You can get
Kidney.
The kidney transplant is not going to be from your. It's more likely to be from your wife than it would be from some other people because
That's interesting.
of how much y'all gonna be together. So I didn't know this until someone told me. So it's like, damn. So there's mental and physical side effects of sex.
Yeah.
And like we said in last season, sex is not a casual transaction.
Right.
So when it's part of casually dating, I was like, you're gonna end up putting a lot of damage and a lot of mileage on something that doesn't need all that access, all that mileage,
Yeah.
all that damage.
Yeah.
And so, as far as when it comes down to sex and casually dating, I'm not doing that because one, I've already seen that doesn't work. Like, and two, like when it comes down to like being in a commitment relationship, I'm not trying to have nothing on my hard frame that's
Yeah.
gonna make me get distracted on what I
Yeah.
need to really be at. And I think that really speaks to a lot of what's really going on because a lot of people have stuff on their hard drive. A lot of stuff that's like viruses, like legit. This woman did me this way,
Literally.
or this is how a relationship's supposed to be, and there's multiple different ways and forms of it. And adding something like sex into it, it's an ecstasy feeling that your brain really can't operate at its highest value.
I think that then you end up staying in the casual
Oh yeah.
for way longer than you need to.
Mhm.
Because at that point, you open the door to a known place that you've probably been before plenty of times. So you're like, I've been in this house 100 times. Like, you know what? Like,
Yeah.
what for? Like, I live here, I moved in on casual. So it's like, why
Yeah.
go to committed? It's like people that
Yeah.
like move in together. Like, I can speak for this myself because my ex and I used to live together. And so it's like, once we were all living, like we were living together, it's like, are we ever gonna get engaged? And for,
Yeah.
like, it's almost like we already live together.
Yeah.
So
I've
it's like we're
experienced
stuck
that.
in casual.
Yeah.
We are stuck in casual. We are so comfortable with casual. We've embraced casual that we're not going anywhere.
No, I felt that. Like, I feel like in college I had an experience where I was dating someone, and I mean, I guess to a certain extent it was exclusive because we weren't dating anyone else, but it was still just dating. And so it got to the point where it would seem like it was a relationship, but just without the title. So it got to a point where it was like he was always over there. I was always cooking for him, all these things. So it's like, I realized I got to a point where it's like, you're getting everything that a relationship entitles, but yeah, I was cooking. I ain't even gonna outlook. This was college. This was college. I was a little naive.
Sir,
I was a
you
little
don't give
naive.
up cooking.
I was doing everything. So then I got to a point where I realized I was like, this is why we're still casual because like I've given you everything without it even being in a relationship. So it's like, what's your motivation to make it a relationship if you already have everything?
Right.
So it's like that's why I had to take a step back and self-reflect because it's like if I give you everything prior to you have no motivation, you have no reason to make it more than what it needs to be. And then that on that part, it's just like that's me because it's like I give too much. When I'm into something, like I'm all in, no matter what the title is, no matter what nothing is. Like I'm all into it, but it's like I have to learn to step back because it's like if I give you too much, then you have no motivation to
That
make
is
anything else.
such
real.
a
You gotta
good
draw back.
point.
I think-
Yeah,
No,
yeah, you
The
do.
mystique,
Like I
if you
can't,
will.
like I wear my heart on my
Damn.
sleeve, but I've learned to like take steps back because like people will take advantage of that, and then they're like, then I'm the one who's getting hurt because it's like you have everything, and then I'm left feeling like I got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
For sure. I think the scariest thing is both men and women when you have.
What the hell is that?
I think they playing like music.
Was that the train?
No.
Oh,
okay,
okay.
Is that getting picked
I
up?
ain't even here for a
Good?
second.
Yeah, I heard the bass come through.
Are we good?
Are we good? I mean, last
It don't
time
sound like that
happened-
loud though.
Last time it happened, we were straight on the audio. So
Wait, hold on. Just hold.
No, I'm not.
okay,
Okay.
man, we good.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
hear the bass. The mic can't, so it's all
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Essentially, rehashing. So basically, when you do that, you're hurting good men and women that when they try and move into another relationship, they carry that trauma into that. So you're just creating a cycle that's like going beyond you. But what I was saying is, I think the scariest thing, like I said, I know you probably went through this, is when you're trying to take a woman serious. And so for me, whenever I did that, and I'm trying to like really move into like a commitment, or if I feel like that's something I wanted to go to, I try to keep sex like far out of that, right? And that kind of rubs certain women the wrong way because they're like, is there something wrong with me because you don't want to have sex? And it's like, no, I'm just trying to take you serious. But then they're like, so now like he can't be a man. He's in Atlanta. he looks nice, and I'm like, you're not gonna try me, you're not gonna disrespect me. But it's like, but what I try to get them to understand is like, okay, if you want to take it there, just know there's no coming back. There's no like, all right, we're just gonna have sex and then we're gonna come back and then we can like ride off into the sunset. Once you bring it there, and if that's something like, because I've had women that have kept putting pressure on it, like they're like, I gotta sample before we get. I was like, there is no sample. Like once we do this, there's no going back.
Okay, so that poses a question. So like once you have a sex with a woman, like how do you view her? Like whether it be the first date or if you're casually or communicating, like. I guess as a male, how do you view her moving forward? Like, do you feel like you can still commit to her later on, or is that just like, no, I'm good?
It
I mean,
depends.
I was about to say, your dad said that never say never, so I can't say never. But for me personally, like just the way I operate now, like like I said, I try and keep it away from it if I'm trying to get serious. So if we do that, I don't look at it as in a way like I would ever disrespect you or bring you down, but it's just like the likelihood of us moving into that commitment stage is you just created this huge wall that we have to trek through, and it's like, am I gonna do that? It's like, if you want to keep it here, this is where we're at.
Because it's like at that point, it gets to a point where it's like how it's like, all right, so I went back on my morals, you went back on your morals. What else would we go back on? That's one thing. Two, it's also from a just straight up physical standpoint. Was the quality or not? Was the sex good? The sex was good, he'll come back. But also, it's a situation where it's like, I gotta know. Situation. It's like once I hit once, it's like once a man feels like he hit once, there's always a situation he's like, I could probably do it again.
Yeah.
And no matter what you say, it's probably gonna happen. Because more times than not, if a man is more casual or more reserved about approaching sex, and a woman approaches him about it after she's put up a front. Because a lot of women put up a front they don't want to have it, or I'm good, I can outlast. Like we said, women just as horny as men. So once you have put up a front and I've broken down that front and I wasn't even trying, it's over with. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Now I know it's more so a side thing, and I can go ahead and find something serious that's really gonna put me in check. Because if you let a man run rampant, he's gonna come in and devour anything that he wants to have.
Yeah.
And it's dudes is gonna be out there, you giving out the keys, you giving out the facts, why are you saying that, Zay? Because that's what we really here to talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you are a woman and you are pressing for sex, and a man is saying, nah, there's reasons why. There's reasons why. And once a man has sex with you, he cannot really view you in the same light. It's either that this is casual now, or I'm gonna find someone who could really make me deserve and want it. And really like thirst after and really, really have it. Because you have sex casually. You're not really gonna put sex to them. Sex to a man who always has sex is not the thing that's gonna get him.
Yeah. I think that I want to say this really quick because I think that in our society, and especially in this generation, like we talk about this so openly these days, you know, that it's something that's constantly on our minds because we see it everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So because of that, I think that it's almost like so overly normalized. And so people almost see it as like if you're not having sex, there's something wrong with you. Yeah. And so it's like, to your point, I think that's amazing that you're saying that, you know, to the women listening, because a lot of women don't know that because they haven't been exposed to that. You know, so they don't even know that it's okay to casually date someone and not have to go there with someone. Because for some reason, I feel like certain women feel like in order for things to continue to go well, you have to have sex with that person. I think it's the idea behind like sex traps men into something secure. You know what I mean?
Definitely
and I think that that's like so normalized.
Backwards.
You know that like it's just something that I've had to actually really like analyze my life, like reanalyze and say, okay, when I go into casually dating, you know, which is why I brought this topic up, it's like, I think that sometimes we have to sit with ourselves and really analyze what we're prioritizing in that casually dating stage. So, you know, as we all agree here now, like as far as sex being something that we probably shouldn't include in that casually dating and why, you know, so I'm glad that this topic came up.
I think it's just being real. Like, I know a whole bunch of friends that are dogs, quote unquote. Anytime they talk about a woman that they're serious about, that dog behavior leaves.
Yeah.
because they were like, this one's real. This one's of quality. So I'm not going to do that unless she provokes it. And whenever she provokes it, she loses. She loses 10 times out of 10. And women need to think about that. If a man really wants you, he'd be willing to sacrifice some things to get what he really wants. And if he's not willing to sacrifice it, the question is, how much value is he? How much value are you to him? Probably not very much, especially if he's got high demand.
Yeah.
And most of the dudes that women like have in high demand. I'm gonna say it again. Most of the women, most of the men that women want are in high demand.
Yeah.
So if he's choosing that option,
Unprovoked.
let it be.
You gotta
Because that means he
live it
really
right.
values you. Because once you cross that line, now you become like everyone else in his DMs, everyone else in his mental. And
It's
that's
that future, you're part of collection.
You're not part of the
And
collection.
it's not the right collection.
And so when it comes down to being in commitment dating, that's something that you really got to talk about. And if for a woman and a man who walk down this line, oh, we have casual sex all the time. Okay, cool. That's something that's parametered within your context of a relationship. And you have to create what that context of commitment is for you. Some people are down with open relationships and they have sex with everybody.
Yeah.
But that's their version of commitment. You have to define commitment, and you got to understand that, like Raymond said earlier, that transition from friendship to casual to commitment. Because for me, if I'm interested in you, for real, to me, if it's a really thing, we're going to casually date, and then depending on how it goes, we'll either go to friendship, to acquaintanceship, to relationship. That's how it goes. And that's if I'm really, really interested in you. But it'll always be on the front end first. Because if it ever goes into the one of the other three, you can never say I wasn't real with you. You'd be like, I never knew you liked me, Cap. Girl, you heard these voice messages. You know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable because now that you know that door is closed, or now that that door is not really being approached or open, you can't really come at me a certain way. And that's just how I move and operate. Not everybody can move and operate like that because there's a lot of pain to move and operating like that. Because like once we move into acquaintanceship, don't expect the same reaction that you got when we was casually dating or when I was interested in you. Because now I know that door is closed. And a lot of people have that FOMO. So now we've had that understanding. Okay, cool. You moving on. Okay, cool. We're not doing like this. Don't pop back in to see if you can get back to where you once were. No. You're going to get hit with left on red, left on seen. I'm not probably going to respond as much as you want to. Why not out of animosity, but out of respect of you and respect of me?
Yeah.
Because we've already said what we're going to be. You already said you're going to be this. And what's crazy is, I don't ever really expect it, and TJ can speak to this. You say you're moving one way and you do the opposite. I've lost a lot more respect for you.
Ego.
And now it's like, okay. Now it's a hard thing to do because, boy, there's a lot of animosity, especially if it don't go right. Why shouldn't I flex on you? Why shouldn't I press that envelope? Why shouldn't I let your boyfriend know what you really on? But you open yourself up to that by playing these games.
Yeah.
So you have to honor the relationships and the standings that are present with a certain relationship. Otherwise, you're gonna open, like my dad said, Pandora's box of relationships and scenarios that should have never happened in this world.
I've had a lot of those, and I think it's because, like, you know, I was saying the other day that I feel like I've dated a lot of the wrong men, and it was simply because of that. Like in the, oh, we're just friends, oh, we're not just friends, and then it's just like, okay, it's going into different areas, and it simply came from me not really knowing what I wanted, you know, not knowing the steps. I think that that's one of the best things that we said on this episode, because it's like I don't, like I was saying earlier, I don't know where these rules of dating came from, who taught us this, because or what we saw Cinderella do or whatnot. But it's just like, you know, let us, if you're listening to this, there are steps to dating. There are steps, you know, and it doesn't just go from us going on one date to we're committed and I'm expecting you to propose to me.
Disney Channel
That's
had it messed
not
up.
how it happens. Yeah.
Disney
So
Channel
it's like,
ruined that Disney Plus.
just a reminder.
Be careful.
Right. Just a reminder that there are steps and that it could take time and that we can't really put a time cap on it. You know what I mean? For some people it might be, you know, 3 months. For other people it might be a little longer than that. But I think like it's being aware, and it takes that self-awareness of like, you know, sharing this time with that person's like, you know, how the actions that that person's taking and all that. And knowing that, you know, you don't want your time wasted, and don't waste their time.
100%. I think you gotta be okay with like moving back and forth between those two things, because much like Zay said, like until he had a woman do his hair, he didn't even know that was something he was looking for.
Yeah.
So same thing with me, like everybody's like, so you're a trainer, so you have to have a woman that's in fitness. And I never had like a woman that was like on that same tip. Like I know you seen the Hulks like working out like that, going crazy, and it's like I seen it looks good, but I've never experienced it. And then I experienced like a little bit of it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it probably does need to be in there, but I'm still not sure at what capacity. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be okay with, you may go into a situation and it starts to kind of turn that way, and you see certain things, and you're like, okay, like it's okay to move back into casual dating. You just got to make sure that understanding and that communication is there when you're doing that. But let's dive into some practical steps for people. I feel like people kind of want to get a takeaway. Like, so what are some things that you kind of need to do before you feel like, okay, it's okay to move from casual to commitment dating as far as like what you're looking for? I know like me and Zay could speak to that for men, but letting the women go first. Like, is there certain things you want to kind of know about yourself, or like what do you feel like there are kind of steps you need to take first before it's like, okay, now I'm actually ready to commitment date? Because everybody's not ready for that. Some people just need to talk and get to know.
Like she was saying earlier, I feel like it's really big on communication. So for me personally, like when I'm dating someone, don't expect me to be your happiness. I want you to be happy by yourself. So I feel like it's very selfish to make somebody your happiness. So for me, it's like we should be two individuals who know how to be happy on our own. And then together, we come together and we elevate that. Right. So it's just like, don't expect...
I'm saying,
don't expect me, because it's like, I'm not perfect. I'm going to have my bad days, and I'm going to always live up to your expectations, and I'm going to always make you happy. I might make you mad. You know, I have my days, so it's just like, I need you to be your own person and be happy, and we balance that out. So it's like, it's really big on communication because when it comes down to dating, it's like, we're two individuals who are going to grow together eventually.
Right.
So it's like, know yourself. Learn what makes you work, what makes you happy, what makes you upset. And it's like, learn how to balance those things out, because when you're with someone, that's going to be important, because you can't put everything on somebody and expect them to balance you out. Like, you have to know how to balance yourself out and bring that to the table and allow yourself to grow with each other. So it's just like, you can't put everything on the other person. You have to take a lot of responsibility for yourself in order to have a successful relationship. So,
Can I say something real quick? Let me say something real quick. This is
Raymond's going crazy back there. He was like, man.
I cannot be the person you date and your therapist at the same time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. All right.
but yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I mean,
What about you?
listen. Yes. Yes.
Went off.
Yes, 100%. I don't feel like I can add very much to that. Like, everything that you said, into really pouring into yourself first, and knowing, like, if you're not taking care, like I said in the last episode, go listen to it. If you're not taking care of yourself, like, and you don't like who you are, then like, how can you expect somebody else to like who you are? You know?
Exactly.
Again, so it's just like going back to that point. So.
100%. What about you, Zay? From a man's perspective.
One of the takeaways I think for men when you're casually dating, commitment dating, you have to be clear in your intent. I can't say, this might be the theme of the season. You must articulate your status and intent. Lord have mercy, because if you're able to articulate your status, you'll be able to not harm anybody unexpectedly. We also get into these situationships, and situationships happen because no one is communicating clearly to each other. So that's one thing, men, we have to do and take charge. If you want to be the alpha man, you want to be a man who has the selection of the options, men get that way because they take charge. So one thing you have in a relationship with a woman, take charge and communicate what this is, what you expect from it, and where you plan for this to go. If you can't even do that, you're not even qualified to be in the game. That's one. Two, when it comes down from going from casual to commitment, making sure that you have the core of your compatibility found within that casual. Figure out what you can and cannot deal with, and understand the things that she can and cannot deal with, and can they coincide. If you're a person who can't stand a messy house and she's real casual about how she cleans, be willing to bear that burden and be able to do the little bit of extra from now until you die. And if you can't do that, continue to casually date. Yeah. Don't just commit off the strength that she fine. Don't commit off the strength that she's really good for you.
I gotta stop doing that. Stop it.
Because there's a lot of other women who are fine and check up all the rest of your boxes as well. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to casually dating, make sure she checks off a lot of your boxes, and the boxes that she don't check off with, you can live with, and that's how you can know you can go to the commitment. And if you have boxes that she has that you cannot live with, don't commit, because you're gonna be in a dangerous situation, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And 3, just be real with yourself. We talked about sex, we talked about hitting it, we talked about all of that. If our points and values don't align with yours, I get it, that's cool. But do know what does align with yourself, so you can be real with yourself and you don't damage other people. Because one thing that is intolerable now is just creating trauma, and you know that you're doing it. There's too many people who are self-aware, people who are not really taking that responsibility on when they're doing damage sexually, to really own up to it. If you're gonna do it, understand who you are and come with that disclaimer so people can know, and then move accordingly.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
You pretty much hit on everything. I think another podcast we can talk about the other side of this. After you did that internal work, I think a huge thing as a man is you got to then step to like that career progression, the financial aspect, because I think there's too many guys that are like, oh, she just wants me for my money. It's like, nah, like women love stability. So you're trying to move into a commitment relationship, but you just started your career, you know, and we talked about this on like another podcast.
Yeah.
I think she said like 10% of your income
10%
on the
should be on
ring.
that
Like,
ring.
I think too many times we do research on like our careers, like shoot, some people even research games and movies, but we don't research like what it takes to be in a stable relationship. So you gotta bring that same energy that you bring in, maybe not to school, because some of y'all get degrees kind of people, but hey, no shade, but you need to bring that same intensity like to your relationships in terms of actually learning, okay, like what would it take to be stable? If you can do that, especially as a man, and come with that understanding, like there's going to be a financial commitment to being in a commitment relationship, starting a family. That's a part of it. And if you know you're not in that place, then it's like maybe you just need to casually date until you feel like you're in that space, and then you can do that.
Or take time off casually dating to get to the point where you can casually date and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because, boy, if you are worrying about your pockets, worrying about what you're going
When the check comes, then you
It's
just
not time for you. It's not the time.
you can't enjoy casually dating is not supposed to be a stressful experience. You be like,
it should be fun.
she gets in the car, you be like, damn, whew, I ain't blow the bank today. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to enjoy casual dating. You're supposed to enjoy this podcast. This has been the real example. Talking about casually dating, commitment dating.
Like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Make sure you check out Danna's podcast, Dannatalks, on all platforms. Your boy should be on there soon, so check that out. And yeah, y'all keep rocking with us. We're going to close it out.
Until next time.